Welcome back to Capital Catch-Up, your guide to the marble halls of Washington. I'm Victor.
And I'm Lenny. We are looking at a packed slate of legislative activity from the middle of February 2026. The 119th Congress is in full swing, and we're seeing a fascinating mix of hyper-local land management issues, sweeping agency reforms, and some significant movements in the nomination space.
Absolutely. And what jumps out at me immediately, Lenny, is the number of companion bills we're seeing. Cases where identical legislation is introduced in both the House and the Senate simultaneously. That usually signals a high priority or a coordinated push. A prime example is the Tribal Warrant Fairness Act. We see it as House Resolution 7490 and Senate Bill 3041.
This is a crucial piece of legislation for public safety on reservations. For listeners who might not know, there's a complex jurisdictional web when it comes to tribal lands. Historically, enforcing a warrant issued by a tribal court off-reservation, or vice versa, has been bureaucratic and slow. This act aims to streamline that, essentially giving full faith and credit to tribal warrants. It's a sovereignty issue, but it's also a nuts-and-bolts law enforcement issue.
It builds on the efforts we saw way back with the Violence Against Women Act reauthorizations, which began closing those jurisdictional loopholes. It's good to see that bipartisan momentum continuing. Speaking of momentum, we have another set of companion bills, the Helping Our People Act of 2026. That's Senate Bill 3769 and House Resolution 7269.
The acronyms are getting better, aren't they? HOPE Act. While the text is dense, bills with this title generally target social safety nets or community grant funding. And speaking of funding, Victor, you flagged Senate Bill 3709, the Streamlining Federal Grants Act.
I did. This is one of those unsexy bills that actually changes how government works. If you are a local nonprofit or a small-town mayor, applying for federal money is a nightmare of red tape. S3709, along with House Resolution 1665, the Digital Applications Act, really highlights a theme this session: modernization. The Digital Applications Act mandates that government forms be accessible and submittable online.
It sounds incredibly basic, doesn't it? But you'd be surprised how much of the federal government still runs on paper or PDF print and scan models. Moving this to a digital-first standard is long overdue. On a more personal level for many Americans, I want to highlight House Resolution 3299, the Restroom Access Act of 2025.
This is often called Alley's Law in various states, right?
Exactly. It mandates that retail businesses allow people with specific medical conditions, like Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis, to use employee restrooms if no public one is available. It's a matter of dignity and basic health access. Seeing this move to the federal level in H.R. 3299 suggests advocates are trying to create a national standard, so patients don't have to check state laws every time they cross a border.
That's a huge impact on quality of life. Now, switching gears to our armed forces, we have a very specific procedural bill moving through both chambers, Senate Bill 3781 and House Resolution 3377. Both authorize the president to award the Medal of Honor to James Capers, Jr.
And for those wondering, why do they need a law to give a medal? There are statutory time limits on military awards. Usually, a Medal of Honor must be awarded within 5 years of the act of valor. Major Capers is a legend in the Force Recon Marine community for his actions in Vietnam. Because so much time has passed, Congress literally has to pass an act to waive that statute of limitations. It's a rare honor, and seeing the bills mirror each other suggests he might finally get that recognition.
It's a great civics lesson. Even the president can't bypass the clock without Congress saying so. Let's look at the Senate's other big job, nominations. The executive calendar is busy. We have a lot of movement in the Department of the Interior.
We do. Scott Socha has been nominated to be the director of the National Park Service. That's a massive job, overseeing 400-plus sites and a huge maintenance backlog. We also have Kevin Lilly nominated as Assistant Secretary for Fish and Wildlife.
With the North Rim and Kayyab National Forest Restoration Act, Senate Bill 3785, also on the docket, it's clear that public lands are a major focus right now. But Lenny, the nomination I'm watching is Ashley Stowe to be a member of the Federal Election Commission, or FEC.
Always contentious.
Incredibly so. The FEC is structured to be deadlocked, 3 Democrats, 3 Republicans. Any nominee is scrutinized heavily because they hold the keys to campaign finance enforcement. With the 2026 midterms approaching later this year, getting Stowe confirmed is likely a priority for the administration to ensure a full quorum.
We also saw a slate of State Department nods, Jeremy Carl for international organizations and Todd Stegerda to be the representative to the UN in Geneva. These roles are critical right now given the geopolitical climate. It's not just about diplomacy, it's about having a voice in setting international standards.
Before we wrap up, we should touch on the congressional record. We have volumes 172, numbers 30 through 34, covering February 12th through the 20th, 2026.
I always tell listeners, don't sleep on the record. It's not just a transcript, it's where you find the extension of remarks, speeches that weren't actually spoken on the floor but are inserted into history. It's also where you see the official introduction of bills like the Save America Act, Senate Bill 3752 and House Resolution 7296, and the Supplies Act, House Resolution 7307.
The Save America Act is one to watch. Based on the title and the current climate, this is likely the major immigration or election integrity vehicle for the session. And the Supplies Act suggests we are still tweaking supply chain resilience 3 years post-pandemic.
So what is the takeaway for the week?
Modernization and recognition. From modernizing how we apply for grants to modernizing how we recognize tribal warrants, Congress is trying to update the system's operating software.
And I'm looking at the intersection of land and environment. With the new nominees for parks and fish and wildlife, plus the forestry bills, expect a lot of debate on conservation versus access in the coming weeks.
We'll be here to track it all. Thanks for listening to Capital Catch-Up.
See you next time.